whenever my therapist repeated things back to me that I had said about what happened was so powerful. And that made such a huge impact on me. Like, and it just made me feel like, oh my goodness, like I'm not to blame here, like that something happened to me and it's not my fault.
So we talked a little bit the other day about processing. And that's something that I don't know if, especially if somebody hasn't done therapy, they might not know what that means to process something. So do you want to talk a little bit about that or?
Yeah. I think, it depends on, every individual person. They're going to go at their own pace, processing things. But for me, I felt like my first session, I just kind of laid it all out there and in a vague kind of way. But I was just like, I prepped myself and I was like, this is what I'm dealing with, and so we just kind of got to work. And even like in the first few sessions, like it was just kind of eye-opening for me. Like whenever I was 13, I lost my grandfather. And I didn't connect the dots of that grief and that loss, that huge loss in my life, being such a catalyst for, depression. And I know like there's grief and there's sadness over loss, but there's also, it can turn into depression. And that was something that I definitely learned like right off the bat that, I'm like, wow, like a light bulb just went off. Like, I had a loss and, that was early on. But one of like, without going into too much detail, like with the trauma in college, like whenever my therapist repeated things back to me that I had said about what happened was so powerful. And that made such a huge impact on me. Like, and it just made me feel like, oh my goodness, like I'm not to blame here, like that something happened to me and it's not my fault.
Yeah.
So that took a lot of time for me to, get around to understanding. And sometimes I still have a bad day and I'm like, will doubt myself or think I should have done something different. But it's been a really good process, with working on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I one of the things, like you were saying, everybody kind of experiences differently. One of the things that was kind of surprising to me is how your mind keeps working on stuff after your session. So you go to you go to a session with your therapist, especially when you open your cans of worms, like open up trauma, and you're like, it's your brain will keep working on it. Even when you're not consciously thinking about it, it keeps working on it. And that can present some challenges. And so it's really important to have tools to utilize during, between sessions. When I was earlier, so the first probably like, I don't know, 18 years after my diagnosis, I hated long form journaling. Like I hated it, partly because when I was manic, I couldn't write fast enough for my brain. And it was really frustrating for me. And so it stressed me out. And then when I was depressed, I couldn't make my brain work. And it was like evidence of how broken my brain felt. And so I hated journaling. I would have, off and on when I would see therapists, they would encourage me to journal. And I'm like, that's not happening. It was like, I can't do that. But now, as I've been going through the process of healing and getting more balanced, I really find journaling a powerful tool, because, journaling, and even like, I don't know if you've ever tried voice recordings, because sometimes it's easier for me to talk about things rather than write about things. And so I have somebody that I was talking to recommended it because I said, I feel like I need to talk to somebody about this stuff. But some of it I don't want to talk to other people about. Like I need to talk about it, but I don't want to talk to a person other than my therapist.
Right. You want to get it out of you, but maybe not necessarily to anybody.
Yeah, it's really hard when it's in your head. Like when it's rolling around in your head, you can't make sense of what's happening in your head. And so getting it out like almost kind of take the wind out of the sails of your brain, of your thoughts, you know, like you have, the more you allow them to stay in your head and the more you allow it to just kind of roll around, and the more agitated you get, the more stressed you feel, you know, but if you can let it out either verbally or in writing, it's like getting it, just the act of getting it out brings it down, you know, helps you to start. And that's what the processing it is. It's like letting your brain kind of work through this stuff and getting it out of your head. It's kind of like cleaning it out, if that makes sense. Right.
Oh, absolutely. Makes sense. And whenever you said like whenever you're manic, you like would write too fast, like some of my notes that I have, like the word is like half written, you know, because I was the same way. Like I couldn't write as fast as I was thinking. And so like some of them are totally confusing. Some of the notes I have are totally confusing because I was just, you know, writing anything and not finishing words or sentences. And but that's okay, you know, because it's not for anybody to see. It's just, to get out of your head. And so in combination with talking to a therapist and a psychiatrist and writing and journaling, like those have all been so therapeutic for me. And I feel like I've really turned a corner with managing my bipolar. Like since I've started this Instagram page and finding people in this community who can relate, and I can relate to them and I don't feel so alone, and you have people to talk to, and you know, it's just such a great thing.